Cicada 3301. In January 2012, an image appeared on the internet forum Forshan. White text on a black background delivered a simple message. We are looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test. It was signed with an image, a cicada, and a number 3301. What followed was the most elaborate puzzle the internet had ever seen. The challenge began with steganography, secret data hidden within the pixels of images. Solvers extracted encrypted messages that required knowledge of ancient ciphers and obscure medieval texts. But this was only the beginning. The puzzle expanded beyond the digital realm. Physical posters appeared simultaneously in 14 cities across the globe, from Warsaw to Seoul, from Paris to Sydney. Each contained coordinates and QR codes, leading to new layers of encryption. Participants needed expertise in cryptography, programming, classical literature, and even ancient languages like Mayan numerals and Anglo-Saxon runes. The clues led to hidden servers on the dark web, requiring increasingly sophisticated technical skills to access. Thousands attempted the puzzle. Only a handful ever reached the final stages. Those who succeeded were given a final message and an invitation. Then they vanished from public discussion entirely. The organization behind Cicada 3301 never revealed its purpose. The puzzle returned in 2013 and 2014 with new challenges, then disappeared completely. Theories proliferated. Was it a recruitment tool for intelligence agencies? A test for cryptocurrency developers? An elaborate art project? A secret society seeking members? No definitive answer has ever emerged. The mystery demonstrates that the digital age can birth enigmas as impenetrable as any ancient cipher, proving that anonymity in the internet can create questions that may never be answered. The Zimmermann telegram. In early 1917, the United States stood at a crossroads. The Great War had consumed Europe for nearly 3 years, but America remained stubbornly neutral. President Woodrow Wilson had won re-election on the promise of keeping the nation out of the conflict. Across the Atlantic, Germany was growing desperate. Its U-boat campaign had failed to starve Britain into submission, and the stalemate on the Western Front showed no signs of breaking. German Foreign Minister Arthur Zimmermann conceived a bold and dangerous plan. If the United States could be distracted by a conflict closer to home, it would never join the Allies. On January 16, 1917, he sent an encrypted telegram to the German ambassador in Mexico. The message was transmitted through multiple routes, including a cable that passed through Britain. British intelligence had been quietly intercepting and decoding German communications for months. In a nondescript office, known as Room 40, cryptanalysts worked tirelessly on the enemy's ciphers. When they decrypted Zimmermann's message, they could scarcely believe what they read. Germany was proposing a military alliance with Mexico. In exchange for attacking the United States, Mexico would be given financial support and the opportunity to reclaim Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. The British government carefully leaked the telegram to American officials who published it on March 1st. Public outrage was immediate and overwhelming. The very territories that had been taken from Mexico decades earlier were now being offered back as bait. On April 6, 1917, the United States declared war on Germany. A single decoded message had changed the course of history: the Beale Ciphers. In 1820, a stranger arrived at the Washington Hotel in Lynchburg, Virginia. He introduced himself as Thomas J. Beale and paid for a room, saying he would return in a few months. Before departing on mysterious business, he entrusted the innkeeper, Robert Morris, with a locked iron box. He promised to send a key if he did not return. Beale never came back. 23 years later, Morris finally opened the box. Inside were 3 sheets of paper covered entirely in numbers. An accompanying letter explained that the ciphers revealed the location of a vast treasure, tons of gold and silver worth millions, buried somewhere in Bedford County. The letter claimed that a key to decode them would arrive by mail. It never did. Desperate to solve the puzzle, Morris enlisted help. Years of effort produced a breakthrough on the second cipher. Using the Declaration of Independence as the key, where each number corresponded to the first letter of a word, the message was revealed. It described in detail the contents of the hoard, including precise weights of gold, silver, and jewels. But this only deepened the mystery. The first cipher, presumably containing the exact location, and the third cipher, listing the rightful heirs, remained impenetrable. For nearly 2 centuries, treasure hunters have devoted their lives to solving them. Fortunes have been spent. Lives have been consumed by obsession. Many now believe the ciphers are an elaborate hoax, a cruel fiction designed to tantalize. The treasure, if it ever existed, remains buried beneath Virginia soil, protected by an unbreakable code, Kryptos. In 1990, the Central Intelligence Agency commissioned a work of art for its headquarters in Langley, Virginia. The sculptor, Jim Sanborn, was given an unusual brief: create something that would challenge the minds of the world's most elite codebreakers. What he delivered was a copper scroll, twisted and enigmatic, installed in a courtyard where analysts walk every day. Carved into its surface are approximately 1,800 characters, a text encrypted in 4 distinct sections. It was a puzzle placed at the doorstep of those who believed no code could defeat them. Within years, the first 3 sections yielded their secrets. They contained poetic phrases, philosophical musings, and even geographic coordinates pointing to a spot elsewhere on the CIA grounds. But the 4th section, a mere 97 characters, has resisted every attempt at decryption for over 3 decades. The NSA has tried. Amateur cryptographers have dedicated their lives to it. Online communities have formed, dissecting every symbol, every spacing, every possibility. Nothing has worked. Sanborn himself remains alive, occasionally releasing cryptic clues that ignite fresh waves of obsession. In 2010, he revealed that characters 64 through 69 spell Berlin. In 2014, another hint emerged. Each disclosure triggers a media frenzy and renewed assaults on the cipher, but the solution remains elusive. The sculpture stands as a monument to intellectual humility. It proves that even with unlimited resources, institutional expertise, and decades of effort, some puzzles refuse to break. The code mocks its solvers daily, a reminder that certainty is an illusion. Linear A. On the island of Crete, the Minoan civilization flourished for over 1,000 years. They built elaborate palaces, created stunning art, and developed a sophisticated bureaucratic system. To manage their complex economy, they kept detailed records on clay tablets using a script archaeologists would later call Linear A. Thousands of these tablets have been discovered across ancient Minoan sites. Each one is a frozen moment of palace administration, recording goods, transactions, and names. Yet despite this abundance of evidence, we cannot read a single word. The script itself is clear enough. The symbols are well preserved and carefully inscribed. We can count them, catalog them, and recognize repeated patterns. But the language they represent remains completely unknown. In the early 20th century, scholars successfully deciphered a related script called Linear B, revealing it to be an early form of Greek used by the later Mycenaean civilization. This breakthrough gave hope that Linear A would soon follow. It did not. Linear A predates Linear B by several centuries and encodes a language that has no known relatives or descendants. Without a bilingual text or enough material for statistical analysis, the script remains impenetrable. The Minoans left behind magnificent ruins and beautiful frescoes that speak to their artistic achievements. But their actual voices, their stories, their thoughts recorded in their own words are locked away forever. An entire civilization vanished, leaving thousands of documents behind as evidence of their existence, yet denying us the ability to understand them. It is a reminder that knowledge once lost can remain lost despite our best efforts to recover it. The Zodiac Killer's 340 Cipher. In the late 1960s, Northern California was gripped by terror. A serial killer operated with chilling confidence, taking lives and taunting authorities with encrypted letters sent to local newspapers. His identity was a mystery, but his desire for attention was absolute. In August 1969, he sent his first cipher, a 408-symbol puzzle that was cracked within a week by a school teacher and his wife. The decoded message revealed the killer's twisted motivations and confirmed what investigators feared. He killed for sport, for the thrill, and he wanted the world to know it. 3 months later, in November 1969, a second encrypted message arrived. This one contained 340 symbols arranged in a grid, far more complex than the first. Investigators, cryptographers, and amateur codebreakers attacked the puzzle with everything they had. Decades passed. The FBI's best analysts failed. Computer programs designed specifically for the task yielded nothing. Some theorized the killer had deliberately inserted errors to make the cipher unsolvable, a final act of cruelty. For 51 years, the message remained silent, mocking every attempt to extract its secrets. Then, in December 2020, a team of 3 amateur codebreakers using specialized software finally cracked it. The message contained more taunting, more cruelty, but no confession that would identify him. The killer was never caught. The cipher demonstrates how human malice can weaponize mystery itself, creating puzzles designed not to enlighten, but to frustrate and control. The Phaistos Disc. In the summer of 1908, Italian archaeologist Luigi Pernier was excavating the ruins of a Minoan palace on the island of Crete. Among the ancient debris, he uncovered a small clay disc, roughly 6 inches in diameter. What made it extraordinary was not its size, but what covered its surface. Spiraling from the center outward on both sides were 241 symbols, stamped into the clay before it was fired. The symbols depicted human figures, animals, tools, and plants, arranged in 45 distinct characters. This was not writing as the ancient world typically knew it. The symbols had been pressed into the clay using individual stamps, making the Phaistos Disc the earliest known example of a printing technique, predating Gutenberg by over 3,000 years. The discovery should have been a breakthrough, a window into Minoan civilization. Instead, it became one of archaeology's most frustrating puzzles. No other example of this script has ever been found anywhere in the world. Without comparative texts, decipherment is effectively impossible. Linguists cannot establish patterns, confirm theories, or test hypotheses. The disc exists in complete isolation. Theories about its purpose range from a prayer or hymn to a game board to an elaborate ancient hoax. Some scholars have even questioned its authenticity, though most accept it as genuine. The Phaistos Disc remains on display in the Heraklion Archaeological Museum, a beautiful enigma. It proves that uniqueness, while captivating, can be a curse. A message without context is indistinguishable from decoration, and some voices from the past may never speak again, the D'Agapeyeff Cipher. In 1939, a Russian-born cryptographer named Alexander D'Agapeyeff published a textbook titled Codes and Ciphers. It was intended as an introductory guide for students eager to learn the art of encryption. The book walked readers through various classical cipher systems, from simple substitutions to more complex methods used throughout history. To give his students a practical challenge, D'Agapeyeff included an appendix at the back of the book. It contained a cipher of his own creation, a sequence of numbers arranged in neat rows. He presented it as an exercise, a puzzle for dedicated learners to solve using the techniques he had just taught them. It seemed like a reasonable pedagogical tool, a way to test their understanding and build confidence. Students eagerly attacked the problem, applying every method described in the preceding chapters. None succeeded. As years passed, the cipher gained notoriety beyond the classroom. Professional cryptographers took notice and attempted their own solutions. They employed increasingly sophisticated techniques, searching for patterns, testing every classical cipher system known to exist. Every attempt ended in failure. Decades later, an elderly D'Agapeyeff was asked about the solution. His answer was startling. He confessed that he no longer remembered the method he had used to create it. He suggested that he might have made an error in the encryption process itself, rendering the cipher fundamentally unsolvable. The irony was complete. A cryptography instructor had accidentally created a puzzle that not even he could solve. The cipher remains unbroken to this day, a monument to human fallibility and the importance of keeping careful records. The Taman Shud case. On the morning of December 1st, 1948, beachgoers in Adelaide, Australia, discovered the body of a well-dressed man lying against a seawall. He appeared to be in his 40s, smartly groomed, with no signs of violence or struggle. There was no identification on his person. Every label had been meticulously cut from his clothing. The initial assumption was a heart attack or suicide, but the autopsy revealed something far more puzzling. His organs showed signs consistent with poisoning, yet no toxin could be identified. Then, investigators found something peculiar. A tiny scrap of paper sewn into a hidden pocket in his trousers. On it were printed 2 words in Persian, Tamam Shud, meaning ended or finished. The phrase was traced to a rare collection of poems by Omar Khayyam, the final words of the text. Remarkably, the exact book. The page had been torn from was found discarded in a car near the beach. Inside the back cover, someone had penciled a series of letters in 5 lines, crossed out certain phrases, and added what appeared to be a phone number. The code has never been deciphered. The man's identity remained a mystery for over 7 decades. In 2022, exhumation and DNA testing suggested a possible name, but his true story, his purpose, and the meaning of those cryptic letters remain locked away. The case became a symbol of how some secrets die with their keepers. The Dorabella Cipher. In the summer of 1897, the renowned British composer Edward Elgar sent a letter to a young friend named Dora Penny. Enclosed within was a curious note, a single page covered in 87 strange symbols arranged in 3 lines. The characters resembled a form of shorthand, or perhaps musical notation, but they were neither. Dora, nicknamed Dorabella by Elgar, was charmed but utterly baffled. She could make no sense of it. When she asked the composer for an explanation, he only smiled and deflected, leaving the puzzle unsolved. Over the years, she continued to wonder about its meaning, but Elgar never revealed the answer. Even after his death in 1934, his widow claimed to have no knowledge of what the symbols meant or why he had created them. For more than a century, the note has attracted the attention of cryptographers, musicians, and amateur sleuths from around the world. Some believe it was a declaration of affection, encoded to protect a private sentiment. Others suggest it was merely a playful intellectual exercise, a game between friends. A few have proposed it might reference a musical theme or contain a hidden message within the structure of the symbols themselves. Despite countless attempts and numerous proposed solutions, none has ever been confirmed. The cipher remains as impenetrable today as it was in 1897. It serves as a reminder that not all mysteries are grand conspiracies or world-changing secrets. Sometimes the most enduring puzzles are the small, personal ones, whispered between 2 people and lost to time. The Shugborough Inscription. In the heart of Staffordshire, England, stands an 18th century monument on the grounds of a grand estate. Carved into its marble surface beneath a classical relief depicting shepherds is a sequence of 10 letters. They read O-U-O-S-V-A-V-V, flanked by the letters D and M. The inscription has no obvious meaning, no clear pattern, and no documented explanation from those who created it. For over 250 years, it has defied interpretation. The monument was commissioned by the Anson family, wealthy landowners with connections to politics, the Navy, and secret societies. Some believe the letters are initials of a Latin phrase. Others suggest they encode coordinates to hidden treasure or represent an acronym of religious significance. The theories multiply endlessly. Both Charles Darwin and Charles Dickens reportedly attempted to crack the code during visits to the estate, and both left without answers. Modern cryptographers have applied every known technique, from simple substitution to complex, mathematical analysis. None have produced a definitive solution. The letters might reference a personal motto, a declaration of love, or even a Templar secret. They might also be nothing more than a private joke whose meaning died with its creator. The inscription remains carved and unmoved, a permanent question mark in stone. It demonstrates that brevity does not equal simplicity. 10 letters should be easy to decode, yet context is everything in cryptography. Without knowing the system, the language, or the intent behind a message, even the shortest text becomes an impenetrable wall. Some whispers from the past remain forever out of reach. The wow signal. On the night of August 15th, 1977, a radio telescope in Ohio was doing what it had done for years, listening to the cosmos in search of something extraordinary. The Big Ear Observatory was part of SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, scanning the heavens for signals that might indicate we are not alone. A volunteer, astronomer named Jerry Eman, was reviewing the latest computer printout, a grid of numbers and letters representing radio intensity from space. Most readings were mundane, background noise from a silent universe. Then, his eyes caught something that made him grab a red pen. A sequence of characters, 6EQUJ5, represented a signal of staggering strength. It lasted exactly 72 seconds, the maximum time the telescope could track any single point as Earth rotated. The signal's frequency was 1,420 megahertz. the exact wavelength that hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe, naturally emits. This frequency is considered so significant that international agreements prohibit its use for terrestrial broadcasts. Eamon circled the sequence and wrote a single word in the margin: "Wow." The signal appeared to come from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, near the center of our galaxy. It was never detected again. Despite decades of focused observation on that exact location, the cosmos has remained silent. The origin remains unknown, resisting every attempt at explanation. Theories range from a passing comet's hydrogen cloud to a deliberate transmission from an alien civilization. The truth is, we simply do not know. The WOW signal represents the ultimate cryptic message, one where we cannot even be certain a message was intended at all. It demonstrates humanity's profound isolation in the universe and our desperate hunger for contact. If it was communication, we missed our only chance to respond.